Hey, Diana, did you know the smartest lawyers don't necessarily know more?
Mark, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Ladies and gentlemen, jurists and just curious, welcome to the Successful Barrister podcast. Here you'll learn about marketing, management, and life skills for lawyers that probably won't get you disbarred. Hosted by Marc Whitehead, a seasoned lawyer who remembers when fax machines were cutting edge, and Diana Berry, attorney, COO, and the brains behind the scenes. Together, they are the legal world's most dynamic duo since statutes met regulations. So if you're looking to build a practice, not a prison, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Successful Barrister, where legal legends are made.
And welcome to the Successful Barrister podcast, a podcast for lawyers and law firm leaders about marketing, management, and life skills that probably won't get you disbarred. I'm your host, Marc Whitehead, alongside my co-host, my number one, my COO, Diana Berry. Hey, Diana. How you doing?
I'm much better than you.
You are much, much better than you, and you probably smell much, much better than I do.
There is a reason I am leaning further away than normal.
I know. I had to spend this morning... Got to spend this morning moving my daughter into her dorm.
Your last one, so you're an empty nester.
This is officially empty nest time. And I was remarking to her, and she didn't really believe me, but I told her, you literally moved into a palace. She has no roommate.
Wow.
She has AC. I had no AC in my dorm in Texas. In Texas, we had no AC.
That's illegal now.
It probably is illegal now, but in my day, it was $300 a semester. Like, what could you argue? She has a washer and dryer.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I was like flabbergasted. It's small, but what else do you need when you're in college? Like, I told her she lived in a palace.
Does she have her own bathroom, or is she sharing?
She has her own bathroom.
Oh, wow.
I'm serious. I'm like, would have died for this when I was in college.
Whoa. Well, I mean, did she say thank you?
No, she didn't. So she's going to get payback when I have to have surgery next week. My wife's going to be out of town, so she's going to have to babysit me. So,
wow.
Yeah,
payback's a what.
Yeah, she gets to stay in that dorm for 2 weeks, and then like you're coming back home, take care of your pops. So there.
Well, I'm excited about today because today is more on the life skills end of your tagline there.
So yeah, so right? This is, and it's more philosophy. So the Odyssey just came out. So now we're talking about, Greek literature and, which...
Who is talking about Greek literature?
Everybody. Do you not read the interweb thingy?
The interweb thingy? No, I don't.
Yes.
And then when I do read the interweb
everybody's now talking about how they had to
read
read the Odyssey back in high school and all of this fun stuff. Well, you also got to read, Plato and Socrates and all of these people that just, when you were in high school, looked like just numbed your mind.
Which made you feel all philosophical.
So anyway, I just happened to run across something that was really interesting, and I thought, gee, we could make a podcast out of this because everything about this list, it was a listicle, and it was basically the 11 mental models that every lawyer should know. And actually, that wasn't the listicle. It was the 11 mental models everybody should know. But of course, I stuck the lawyer in there. And
you made it applicable for our audience.
I made it applicable to our audience. And I thought we would do it. And, they're quick, they're easy. We can rattle them off pretty quickly. But, they seemed to, every one of them made a ton of sense to me. And one or two of them we've talked about in the past. So...
Such as the Pareto principle.
The one that wasn't on here that I thought should have been on here, and you mentioned it the first time you looked at it, was Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law was not on here.
And it's the most...
It is the most applicable.
To me.
If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong,
it will.
So...
And you should plan for that.
So I've been reading a lot of military history lately, and of course military history is all about all the shit that they planned that went wrong. It's kind of inevitable. So anyway, so I thought it was a cool little listicle I thought it was something that we could really adapt to how lawyers, run their everyday practices, how they think, but to put a mental model behind something that you frequently just reflexively do and do it without thinking, but to think about the principle behind it, the mental model behind it, I just thought would be a very interesting topic to go over. Plus, everybody loves a listicle, so why not?
Well, and I think that we're going to talk about it, of course, in the frame of business,
Yes.
right? Like hiring or strategy or not. I mean, because every lawyer can probably figure out the application to the actual practice of law.
Yeah,
But
I
we're-
wouldn't say every lawyer could figure it out.
Well,
but I've
our
seen a few.
podcast
Have you ever
is
looked in
about-
the back of the Bar Journal? I'm just saying.
Our podcast is about the business problems.
Of course, our listeners are extremely intelligent relative to your average everyday run-of-the-mill lawyer. I'm just puffing right now. I'm kissing everybody's ass because you're listening to our podcast. But yes, we're much smarter than the average Joe.
We are very thankful that you do. But of course, I'm going to be the contrarian because
you
that
are.
comes so easily for me. But, some of these rules just drive me crazy. And so I'm going to look forward to
So are you going to challenge some of the rules?
all of them.
Oh.
All 11 of them.
Oh.
Namely,
we
which
might
is,
need 2 or 3 hours then.
Which is why I suggested this should have been 2 podcasts. But we're gonna run through them in one, and which will make our arguments.
Let's do this. We're
lot more
we're just
concise.
gonna go, and if we go over 45 minutes, we'll just have our editor break this up into 2 podcasts.
We will see about that.
We'll see
sir.
about
I mean,
that.
we have a goal. So
Well, we're
but
gonna
the
try to get
thing
this in
about-
one. We think we can do it one.
The thing about, I think, the models is just being aware, despite my contrarian nature, of when to apply
Hard-headed
them.
nature.
Yes, sir. When to apply them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it does work. The Pareto principle. We've had this argument because you don't like it when I give you data that upsets the Pareto principle in this law firm because you like to find the exception for the Pareto principle. So
do.
as we go through,
I don't like 80-20. I like 70-30 better.
only because you're at 70-30, not for any other reason. So I think as we go through all 11 in less than 45 minutes, we will, I think the challenge is going to be like, when does this work in your law firm now? And when do you apply it and how do you not apply it? In which situations do you not apply it?
All right. With that, when we get back, we're going to go through our 11 mental models every lawyer should know.
This podcast is sponsored by Marc Whitehead Associates, a national disability benefits law firm. Marc Whitehead runs a firm of over 60 dedicated people whose mission is to make a difference in the lives of our injured and disabled clients. Marc represents disabled claimants in Social Security disability, private disability insurance, and veterans disability claims in all 50 states. Marc Whitehead is double board certified in both Social Security disability law and personal injury trial law. Marc has litigated disability cases in over 40 states and counting and can help your clients too. Stop throwing your phone calls away. Call Marc Whitehead at 701-VIP-LEAD. That's 701-VIP-LEAD. Or visit our website at disabilitydenials.com. Referral fees are paid in all jurisdictions where it is permitted. Refer us your disability cases today and know that your clients will be in good hands.
And we're back. All right. Since we got 11 of these suckers to do, we're going to hit it fast because that's a lot to do.
I know. When I suggested 2 and you were like, no, do it in 1, I was very shocked. All right, number 1, Marc.
All right. Well, let's start with the first principle. The first principle here is that great lawyers don't just know the law, they make better decisions. And that's the whole point of the 11 mental models that we're going to lay out here, is they can help you make better decisions. So with that in mind, number 1, this is one that struck me, and it's number 1, is Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law says that work expands to fill the time available. And this really struck home for me because how many times have we had employees just beg and beg and beg for overtime to get all the little work done? How many times? Billions. I would say, I just went to McDonald's, so billions and billions.
Well, yes. I mean, we try very hard not. Overtime is not a thing really these days.
It used to be.
When I got here, it was rampant. I fixed that pretty quickly, but mainly also not because of Parkinson's law, but because also we do pride ourselves on our work-life balance, and we do want to make sure we have a culture where you are able to shut off your work when you are no longer quote unquote on the clock, because especially with the nature of the work that we do, you could literally work 80 hours a week and still potentially not be caught up. We are a
Right.
volume practice.
Right. So the point being is that, given the idea work will expand to fill the time that you give it, if you want to become more efficient, give yourself less time. Don't give yourself as long of a runway. Give yourself a shorter amount of time to get something done. And guess what? You'll probably be able to do it if that's your goal.
I think that the best example of that we can do, and we try very hard not to do disability examples here, but this is something you did, Mark, for an SSD, a Social Security disability, you have 60 days to file an appeal for a denial.
Right.
And in your firm, when I got here, you did this way before me. What is your internal deadline?
Our internal deadline is 7 days.
You don't have 60 days because you will take all 60.
Why waste 60 days?
And I think that's the best example of Parkinson's law, in that it is a simple task, and that's when Parkinson's law works the best. I think that Parkinson's law falls apart when you have complex matters.
Okay. Which actually, because Parkinson's law sort of conflicts with another law that we're going to go over with down here a little later. So, which is work always take more time than you think.
And that is...
Well, I don't remember the damn law.
Hofstadter's law.
Hofstadter's law. Are we going out of order here?
Nope. Number 2 is Hofstadter's law.
Okay. So number 2, Hofstadter's law is everything takes longer than you think, which, kind of conflicts in my mind with Parkinson's law. But it does make sense. I think this is more applicable in the team concept, because when you have to do something as a team, it becomes more complex. This is exactly what you just said in Parkinson's law, is that it becomes more complex when it becomes a team exercise. And therefore, like this damn freeway right out here in front of our office that's taking forever for them to finish. I want my exit back. I have to go down to the next exit and circle back and come back. For months, I've been having to do this. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you people out here?
Weeks. You've been doing this for weeks.
Months. But I swear it's been months.
I think that I completely agree. One of the things that, and when you take Parkinson's law, which is at work expands to fill the time available, and Hofstadter's law, which is that everything takes longer than you think, the junction is, it depends on the task that you're doing and how many elements are out of your control. I will say, if you are a law firm where everything is taking longer than you think, that's not Hofstadter's law. Please do not use this principle as justification for everything taking longer than you think, which is what I think some people do, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, well, that's just Murphy's Law, so it's okay. I think that if everything is taking longer than you think it should in your firm, you don't have Hofstadter's law, you have an ops problem.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there. So, number 3 on this list, Hanlon's razor. Now, first of all, what's the difference between a law and a razor? Do you know? I do not know.
I think that has to do with the Hanlon himself, but I don't know enough about the...
So Hanlon, well, there's lots of razors out there, but I don't know exactly how that is defined that way. Hanlon's razor, never attribute malice to what can be explained by carelessness. I thought this was kind of funny because I have some people in my life, and I have worked for some people in my life that everybody was out to get them. They were like paranoid beyond belief. And every time that something bad happened to them or something bad happened, they thought somebody did it on purpose. I'm like, no, he was just an idiot. He just screwed it up. Stop acting like you're, the victim all the time. Just sometimes shit happens. Anyway, that's the first thing that struck me when I read it. But opposing counsel frequently will screw things up. And did they do it on purpose, or did they, or is it just, what was the motive behind it? Was it malice? I don't know. Was it strategy? I don't know. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting. That was the first thing I thought of, and I'm speaking of a very, very specific person that used to be my boss.
So we read a leadership book once, and the catchphrase that every attorney, every member of the leadership team still uses when we walked away reading that book was assume noble intent.
Yes.
And to this day, we will walk around saying to each other, assume noble intent, because it reminds us, hey, I didn't mean for that to be inflammatory. I will say the caveat or the contrarian point of view is until it shows a pattern. We were just talking through in one of our trainings with our attorneys. Hey, you know what? If they're not giving you the document back again, like over an extended period of time and again, and you find it from the same carrier again and again and again, that you don't need to assume that's Hanlon's razor. That is strategic and that is purposeful.
Yeah, they are doing it on purpose.
And I think that a lot of people, I've had bosses, since we're talking about bosses, that have said, well, they just don't mean it. And I'm like, well, self-awareness is also still a pattern. And so when you have that, especially when you're talking about promoting people, we're going to talk about one of those principles later. But when you talk about people in managerial and leadership positions, the idea that they are just careless, so that's Hanlon's razor, it becomes much more important. They just shouldn't be in that position anymore.
Yeah. All right, number 4. All right, this is your favorite. I'm going to let you go run with this one.
Is this my favorite?
It is your favorite.
Pareto principle. 80% of results come from 20% of efforts, which has been shown again and again in countless industries and countless scenarios. And so, for example, for lawyers, you should, basically the theory is that 80% of your revenue will come from 20% of your cases.
Yeah, that's true. Most of your money comes from your big cases. So focus on your big cases. I guess that's how we would apply it here. I guess the flip to that is 80% of your problems come from 20% of your clients.
That's exactly the flip side of that. 80% of your problems come from 20% of your employees.
Yeah, that's true too.
I mean, more or less, that's the way that works. But, I think that, yes, everybody tends to focus on the 80%, but I think, especially with what we're trying to train our lawyers on at this point, it's not just the 80%. You need to spend just as much time on the 20%, because what we found with our lawyers is the 20%, the C cases, so the low value cases, the cases where the client is particularly aggressive.
Yes.
And not in the way that you want
not
them
in a
to
good
be.
way.
Not in the way you want them to be in litigation, or opposing is particularly difficult. They'll just let them sit there.
Yeah.
And sit there. And that's the 20% that you want to focus on as well.
So I think the point would be, the quote I wrote in here was, find the vital few things that move the needle. Stop obsessing over the trivial many. So focus on the few, the profitable, not so much on the trivial. Not that your 80%, bottom 80% of your client base are trivial. So for that I don't think that really applies. Every client's important, because every client's matter is the most important thing that's in their life at the moment. But, we have to allocate our focus in a way that makes sense.
Well, and I mean, and if you're talking about managing employees, don't, the squeaky wheel always gets the grease, but don't let that become the truth for your, when it comes to managing people.
Okay. Oh, this next one is yours too, because this goes straight to hiring and promotion.
Oh, the Peter principle. People rise until they reach incompetence. And I hated this one growing up. I say growing up into my, I guess where I am now, 20 years in the end, as a professional. I agree and I disagree. I think it is much the manager's responsibility to ensure that the person that you're promoting into the next position is ready for it in terms of both skills as well as training, as well as soft skills. So hard skills, like, are you able to do the job? Can you rise to that level? B, have we put the training in place for you to be successful for that? And then C, do you have the soft skills to be successful in this next level? And that's a manager's responsibility, not necessarily the person that has unfortunately become the subject of the Peter principle.
Yeah. Well, I guess the short, the Peter principle is simply people keep getting promoted until they finally get promoted into a job they can no longer do. And that's where they get stuck.
Which is, I think, horrible management.
It's probably horrible management, yes.
That it's the fault of the manager for just taking someone. I mean, I think that this is the best example, and it's the crux of it, right? We have an amazing intake specialist, and so the next thing most people would do is say, hey, let's make her intake manager. Nope, she's a great intake specialist. Not that she couldn't be a great intake manager, but why would you promote someone up into something that's completely different skill set than being a true intake specialist? the flip side of that, of course, is that you take people who are really great intake specialists. You're like, no, you stay over there. I'll pay you more money, but you stay over there. And they're like, but no, I want opportunity. And so you have to be able to be responsive. And that's, again, a manager's decision or manager's responsibility.
Okay. So number 6 on the list, this is mine because I relate to this big time, is Hick's Law. Hick's, H-I-C-K, Hick's Law. More choices create slower decisions. God, this happens to me every night when my wife and I talk. Where you want to go for dinner? I don't know. Where you want to go for dinner? Well, what about this? What about that? What about? I mean, just too many choices.
This happens when my husband and I try to figure out what we're going to watch.
Yes, that too.
We just end up
what do you
scrolling.
get when you have 500 channels on your TV?
Or 500 apps.
Remember back in the day when we only had 3 channels?
And you just watch whatever's on TBS or something.
With the choices were pretty easy. So too many choices create confusion. So vagueness, too many choices creates vagueness in people's minds, and that vagueness creates confusion, which creates inaction. We have a plethora of software options. We have a plethora of tech options right now. We have a plethora of AI options, and we're kind of like, damn, we got to figure all this out. And I think it really slows us down. If there was only one choice, we'd be moving ahead full steam. But we have to stop and think about it. So now, not that competition isn't good. I think it is. It does make you think, and it slows down your decision-making process. You mentioned the last podcast that aired. I just listened to it yesterday on Greg Crabtree. And, you quoted what he said was that you only need 5 KPIs, and every KPI you look at should be something that causes you to make a decision or not to do or not do something. If it doesn't, you have too many KPIs. I'm probably misquoting the way you said it, but you said it brilliantly on the podcast.
I think it was probably quoting Crabtree.
You were quoting it, but exactly that. Too much data can blind you.
Well, we all have choice fatigue these days. What was it the other day? We went to our same page meeting and then we got coffee after. And how many, do you want iced Americano or hot Americano? And I was like, I just want a hot Americano. And I walked away. And then you were like, no, hey, you got to tell her the size.
You got to tell her all the other things, all the other 12 ingredients
and
she
that
wants
was
to
just
know.
ordering coffee. But I think that people take Hick's Law and we're like, okay, I got to make a decision fast. And, especially CEOs or managers or leaders, they're like, no. You have to make a decision in 2 weeks. Give me a decision in 2 weeks. I'm like, where did you get 2 weeks from? Let's not make arbitrary deadlines to decisions that need time, especially when it comes to tech.
So I think this is important when we do good lawyering. You want to lay out the choices for your client, but you probably don't want to lay out all the choices for your client. You want to pick the best 2 or 3 choices and lay them out for the client. Because otherwise the client is going to just get confused and look at you like, what do you want me to do?
Choice context.
Choice context, good, better, best. Lay out the good, the better, and the best. Who is it? Austin sitting over here working the board did this to me today. He's like giving me all these choices about marketing options and like, dude, just pick. I don't care. Just go.
Austin, you can come talk to me.
Yeah.
We can, I'll listen and I'll help.
I just want you to make choice.
No, that's also, let's call that Exhibit A for bad.
I can't even remember what it was about. But it was just my mind started spinning. Like, just pick.
Well, I think that's definitely choice fatigue that we can all suffer from these days, whether that's from what's for dinner, what do you want for your coffee, what are we going to watch tonight. But some of the decisions that we're making, especially the higher up you go in any law firm, whether it's a law firm owner or you're a law firm operator like me, some decisions should take a long time. Hire slow. That's a very big one. Don't rush through that decision. Like which tech company you're going to use. Don't rush through those negotiations either, because it's going to completely change how the rest of your firm is going to work for the next year. Mm-hmm. So it should be the right decision. Don't use Hick's Law against you.
Okay. The 7th one, this is your favorite. Go for it.
Oh, I don't know. You've said that about a few of these.
See, when I say it's your favorite, go for it. That just means I don't understand it, so I'm pitching it to you, so I don't have to do it.
Got it. Well, you should have said so. But good heart. It is very empowering to hear you say that. Goodhart's Law. When the metric becomes the goal, the metric becomes useless.
Okay, that sounds really cool. I don't have any idea what that means.
That means that when you, for example, tell your intake specialist, we are now going to bonus you on number of calls answered, and they're getting calls, they're getting people off the phone so quickly that your customer service drops, your client satisfaction drops. They have now focused on the wrong thing. The goal is sign clients, or the goal is happy clients, depending on the function of your intake team, right? Like, are they answering all the phone calls? You want people to feel warm and welcomed when they are often your first point of contact with potential clients. They can't be like, okay, next call, hang up, next call, hang up. So whenever the metric becomes the goal, the metric becomes useless.
So, all right, this has nothing to do with law, but I think it hits the point right on the head. So I was reading this article about the number of snake bite deaths in India. It's the worst place in the.
No idea where you're going with this.
Yeah, I know. And so what happened is the government started paying money for people who would bring in dead snakes. What would people do? They started breeding snakes.
Oh, that is a good example.
Yeah,
of
the exact wrong results.
Oh no. I
just ooked you out, didn't I?
Yes.
Can we start talking about cockroaches too? Because I know that ooks you out too.
Oh gosh, we've already done that in one leadership team meeting this week,
Yes.
and I am not even kidding, guys. So, I think that people, again, the contrarian point of view is like, well, then I'm not going to measure anything. You have to measure things. I'd rather have intake gaming the system and paying attention to the metric than not measuring anything at all. So, so Goodhart's law can get misinterpreted as, okay, well, I'm not going to measure anything because people are just going to game the system. Yeah, they are. That's okay too.
Exactly. Number 8, the Dunning-Kruger effect. The least experienced often have the most confidence.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't seen this much in my lawyers, but I have seen it in other law firms where you have young lawyers who don't know shit from Shylock, and they just think they know everything, and they really are clueless, and they're too dumb to know they're dumb.
I think that happens to all of us. We achieve a certain level of competence, and it takes only one hearing where you don't prep and a great outcome from that hearing for you to be like, I don't have to prep anymore ever again. I'm just a great attorney. And that is the exact opposite of what Dunning-Kruger
Oh my God, I have
saying.
seen so many attorneys go into hearings and wing it.
Do that.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
they just figure they can wing it, and they get hammered.
Well, no. What sometimes happens is they have a successful
Oh yeah,
outcome.
it's happened. That's worked for them in the past.
And so then they'll do it again and again and again. So because, right, you're rewarding incompetence.
You're rewarding incompetence.
Well, but also it's in conjunction with the first law we started with, which is Parkinson's law, right? Work expands to fill the time available. If you can go into a hearing with no prep time, you're like, well, I don't ever have to prep now anymore. I had one good outcome. And so I think that you have to have I think that really good judgment. And that's what I think about all these 11 mental models is judgment. When can you over prepare? When are you over preparing relative to your skill? That's the Dunning-Kruger effect. Versus when are you under preparing for, like, for example, an MSJ?
Okay. Here's another razor. Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually correct. We've had this before, and it is kind of sad. And like, we can't get our client to return our phone call, and the client disappears for months and months and months. My lawyer's going to be like, what do I do? I'm like, check the obituaries.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
You know,
That's our practice of law, though.
This is when you represent a disabled clientele, you're going to have a few clients that pass away on you. We had this happen last week. We had a client that we hadn't heard from in 8 months, and oops, no wonder we didn't know where they're at. That would be one sort of weird, morbid example. There's got to be some better ones. You've got to have a better one than that.
I've got two.
All right, give me what you got.
Mark and I actually had a bit of a tense level 10 yesterday because revenue is not meeting expectation in one of our departments. And Mark's
I
like,
wasn't
"Why?"
tense. I don't know. Why are you claiming I was tense? I was not tense.
I was tense. All right, let me just go and say it. I was tense. And you were asking, well, why is revenue dropped? And I looked at you and I was like, because we settled less cases. It's Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually correct. We didn't sell enough cases, therefore the revenue dropped. But you can't stop there.
Five
right?
whys.
Do what?
The 5 whys. Why did we settle fewer
100%.
cases?
100%. And
That was just one why I got right there.
why and how can we ultimately, what we were trying to get to is how do we not allow that to happen again? The second example that I thought of, and Mark is going to maybe throw something at me because I have used this one so many times over the last 7 months because...
Would you like the water bottle or the pen? Which one?
Does the pen have a top on
I
it?
didn't know.
When your leads drop and everyone who relies primarily on the Google gods for their leads, it's really easy to say the Google algorithm changed. And it did. And the simplest answer is usually correct. Mm-hmm. But you can't stop there. And I think that that's what a lot of people do, right? We're so used to the Google algorithm changing that when our leads drop due to SEO, they were like, okay, we'll figure it out, or our vendor's going to figure it out, and they'll bounce back in 3 months. You need to track your leads weekly. You need to figure out, like, where is it really just from Google? Because I would dare say another source of our revenue or another source of our leads has also dropped. Mm-hmm. And so when it becomes Occam's razor, when you rely on Occam's razor too much, the simplest explanation is usually correct. Yeah, Google did change their algorithm again, but it's usually not the only reason.
Okay, this is an interesting one because it's called a fence, and I don't understand that either. Number 10, Chesterson's fence. Understand why something exists before removing it. Now, this one I had a hard time wrapping my head around. So I'm going to let you go with it.
The one that I thought of, again, because of my HR focus, is that when you are training new employees, you have to spend as much time on the why you do the things you do the way you do, not just the way you do them, right? It's so easy now. We have Waybook, we have Loom, we have Trainual, we have Scribe, all the different ways that this is how we do things at Marc Whitehead and Associates. But when you explain the how, make sure you explain the why. Your task deadline for filing an appeal is 7 days. It is past due if you file it on the 8th. I understand why. Yes, I understand you have 60 days. You probably read that, new employee, in Mark's Social Security book. You have 60 days. Yeah. At our firm, you have 7, and here's why.
So I guess the way the process works here is like if you look at something and go, this is stupid, why are we doing this? Or this is stupid, we should get rid of this. First ask the question, what problem is this solving in the first place? And should the fence really come down? So sometimes maybe it should, sometimes it shouldn't. But first understand why it was put there to begin with. Every procedure was written in a certain way for a certain reason. So before you start jacking with our procedures and doing something else, ask the question, why was it there to begin with? Because it was there for a reason. Maybe the reason's still there.
Maybe, and maybe it's not. So
maybe
it's always
not.
good to ask why.
And we encourage our people, like if you see a better way, if you can, eliminate a step here or there, let us know. Sometimes technology changes, and yet our procedures don't get updated as fast as the technology changes. So that actually could be very true. The 11th on our list, you thought we couldn't do all 11. I'll give that one to you.
Brooks' Law. Adding people to a late project often makes it later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I agree with that, but okay. I mean, I guess the whole idea is that throwing bodies at a problem isn't necessarily going to help solve the problem.
I think it's almost like too many cooks in the kitchen. Okay, so if you've got a team and you're working on a problem and they've been working on it a long time, it takes you a long time if you add somebody late in the game to get that person up to speed about what you're doing, why you're doing it, what the problem is, how you've gone about it. Now, given that, the exception could be that your team is stuck and it needs a new look, it needs a new perspective. So then sometimes that new perspective can come in and sort of, break the gridlock and get things moving again. So I think there's two sides to this. Sometimes adding people late in the project can actually get you over the finish line. So I think it's just it's a saying, it's a law. That's why it's number 11 on the list.
I mean, I think that Murphy's Law could have made number 11 wrap this one up strongly. But
we're gonna put Murphy's Law at number 12. Okay, so we'll
wing that one.
We'll wing that one.
But I think that Brooks's Law doesn't work because you have a delegation problem. Brooks Law only exists if you can't delegate. If a whole new body comes into the late project and they have a defined scope, your whole job is the execution of cases 1 through 50, you will inevitably get through the finish line a lot faster. But whenever they come in and their whole job is to react to everybody else's defined scope of work, of course you're going to be even later. So I'm not sure that I understand it, but that's okay.
All right. So when we come back, we're going to give our 5 action steps going forward, and maybe we'll pick out some of our best or maybe our least favorite laws. That would be interesting. We're going to think about that. All right. We'll be right back.
This is Marc Whitehead, lawyer, entrepreneur, and business coach. Thanks for listening to the Successful Barrister podcast. If we've stirred your juices, hit me up with an email at marc@marcwhitehead.com. Remember, Marc is spelled with a C. And get on the Successful Barrister newsletter mailing list. Even better, let's set up a call. I'd love to talk to you about working together, talk shop, or just shooting the breeze.
All right, Diana. So 5 action steps going forward on our lovely little listicle of the great laws of nature. So I'm going to start us off. Number 1, identify one mental model that explains a current problem in your practice. And the one I'm going to suggest is Goodhart's Law, which is when a metric becomes the goal, the metric becomes useless. You actually had to explain that to me, but once you explained it to me and I started thinking about snakes, it actually started to make sense.
I'm still cringing.
I know you're still cringing. So here's the one that really strikes home with me, because again, I'm in charge of marketing in the firm. And our biggest marketing channel is digital. And I've had so many marketing agencies out there over time say, look, we're getting you all these clicks. We're getting you all these likes. You can't spend a click. You can't spend a like. They're measuring the wrong metric. That metric, they've made that the goal, and it's the wrong metric. What you really want are how many relevant leads did you get me? So many shady marketing people out there that can get you so many clicks. But they're not relevant to what you do.
Well, it's misdirect, right?
This is totally misdirected. Either they're incompetent, or worse, they're crooks.
Or they truly believe that matters.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it does depend.
So
on your
I mean that's
area.
the one I would look at. Is make sure you're measuring the metric that makes sense, and not just measuring a metric because it's a vanity metric. Gee, I got a lot of likes. Can't spend a like.
My second takeaway from this would, of course,
it'd be your first takeaway,
Sorry,
but it's
the
our second
second.
on our list.
Thank you for correcting me, Mark.
So
on record, the first one that I want to talk about is the Pareto principle. Of course, 80%
did I catch your
of
tongue?
results
Did Kat get your tongue
come
there?
from 20% of your efforts. Every law firm knows that you're supposed to be reviewing your 20 or the prior year's settled cases or your settled fees to figure out, are you actually kind of in that 80-20 principle? And then if not, how can you get there? It is a fairly established, accelerator. They recognize that this is a personal injury, that this is an established, or at least a very well accepted ratio in the personal injury practice. But not just the 80%. You need to focus on your 20% and what was your time on desk on your 20%, and see if there's a way you can get that down as well.
Mm-hmm. So number 3 on our list, I would say remove one unnecessary process, meeting, or decision this week. I would say using Hick's Law, which Hick's Law basically is more choices create slower decisions. Sometimes you need to remove some of the possible choices and just, to make the decision tree go a little faster. I like the good, better, best model, the rule of three, no more than three choices. And one choice should be obvious in most situations. So, but I would use that principle in going through and looking at your processes and seeing how you can streamline things and make them less complicated.
Number 4 on the list would be to apply Chesterton's fence, which is understand why something exists before removing it, and review one of your policies. Maybe. I mean, just, review one long-standing policy and see if it still applies in the modern era of your firm. But secondly, also make sure you're reviewing your training manuals to explain the why behind why you do things the way that you do. I still believe firmly that customer service is our ultimate differentiator. We are a service business, and so when you explain the why, you make sure that your culture stays the same with each employee.
So number 5 on the list, I would say pick one of these principles and teach it to your team. It's not enough, we do this a lot. I mean, I do this a lot. I go to a lot of seminars and I learn a lot of cool shit. And then I forget to tell my team about it, and I don't implement it. Pick something, whatever it is, and go teach your team and get them on board with this as well. It's not just about keeping it in your own head. How can you implement some of these concepts to make your entire team better? That's your job as a leader, to make other people better. All right. Anything else you want to say?
I can't believe we did that in less than an hour.
Okay. We did less than an hour. We did this in like 40 minutes. He's shaking his head. Yes. Huh. So you didn't believe me. You thought this was going to be a 2-podcast
I do
episode.
think we rushed it.
Well, I know. We were just, like I said, we were just covering the topic. I didn't want to get into. We could do a podcast on just Parkinson's law. I think we could.
I think we could do, because I like history too, we should do how these rules became rules.
Who made this shit up?
Yeah.
And what's the difference between a razor and a fence and a law
And a principle.
and a principle? Okay, we're gonna look this up. I still don't know what a
Part
razor.
2.
Don't know what a razor is. In any event, with that, we are out of time. So I want to thank everybody for listening to the Successful Barrister. And I'm starting to forget my outro all of a sudden.
I'm Diana.
Oh yeah, I'm Mark.
And I'm Diana.
Okay, and I have just butchered this. We're going to come up with a new outro anyway.
Okay.
After 100 and something episodes, we should come up with a new outro.
Now you're just ad-libbing.
I am ad-libbing. So anyway, if you would like to give us a shout, hit me up at my email address, mark@markwhitehead.com. Mark is spelled with a C. And Diana is?
Diana at markwhitehead.com.
With one N.
One N.
Okay. And we want to remember, that's what we're going to remember to rate and review us wherever you get your podcast. And make sure you hit that share button to share an episode or two with a friend of yours. And most importantly, absolutely the most important thing in the outro is that we need to thank our sponsor, Marc Whitehead Associates, a national disability law firm, which can be found at www.disabilitydenials.com. And with that, create a practice, not a prison.
Bye.
Bye.